Hey everybody, Bob Paff here. It is Friday night. It's time for the Bob Paff Show. It is 5:45 here on the East Coast. So if you're tuning in from the West Coast, Shane, if you're out there, our friends in California and Ireland and Scotland, we had somebody from Sweden last week. So I'm super excited and really honored that you folks are tuning in from all over the world. I've got my friend Dr. Dan here with us tonight. He's sitting right there. He's right across from me. He just signed in. Hey, Ann, how's everything down there in Charleston? So Dr. Dan is with me, and we're going to talk about goal setting. We're going to talk about goal setting for 2018. A perfect time to do this. 19. See that, Dan? It's when you start writing those checks out, and you got to get used to writing 2019. But it's a perfect time to do this because we're finishing up 2018. We're going into 2019, and it really is the perfect opportunity to talk about your goals. So, Dan, I want to make sure, folks, if your goal is to lose weight, if your goal is to really get your shit, can I say that? Get your life together. Maybe it's a career change. Maybe it's a relationship. We're going to talk about all those things, and we want to hear from you. Dan was just asking me, this is a talk show, and so we take callers. So give us a call, 410-922-6680 if you are local. And if you're out of the listening area, as Ann Brosco is down there in Seabrook Island, right outside of Charleston, and one of my favorite places in the whole world. Got to get down there and see you. The kids, before Logan goes off to Brown this year, we've got to get down to the Isle of Palms and spend time in the Wild Dunes and whatever. But anyway, so folks like Ann can call us at 1-800-922-6680. So tune in. We want you to share this. Bring your friends on board. Again, it's a variety show, so we'll talk about a lot of things. Those of you who know me know that I'm a voracious reader. I'm going to talk a little bit about this book. This book had me in tears. This is a 19-year-old girl who was a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, and really, by all definitions, had everything going for us. My son's now reading it, and what attracted him was, she's beautiful. She's beautiful. She's smart. She was athletic. Really had everything going for her, and she killed herself. And so I was in tears. Yeah, it was just really, it was awful. Wallace Warfield Simpson, I'm reading this one now about the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Pretty fascinating stuff there. A lot of you know that story. And then the unbanking of America, how the banks are really taking advantage of us. Oh, yeah. You and I talked about that, the fee income, the billions and billions of dollars, Dan, that they make. And if you look at a bank like Wells Fargo, and I'm with Wells Fargo, all the problems that they've had.
Have bad rep now. Huh?
Right? And so it's ridiculous. So, folks, great book. I actually got this. I don't know if Steve and the folks that own Greetings and Readings are listening, but I went out there. Breaks my heart that they're going out of business after 49 years. What's happening, really, again, we're all going to be working either for Amazon or the federal government.
Eventually.
And it's scary. And so, for those of you who know me, we support small business. Maria and Vaso at Cipriana, Tony at THB. I'm going to talk about you guys, when we go live here. I couldn't do this without you, and thank you guys for continuing on with me and just really so grateful. But the backbone of their economy is small business, Dan, and small business is being chipped away.
That's
right?
Over by all
it is. I mean, how much richer does Jeff Bezos need to be? And it becomes, it's kind of crazy. And listen, I don't deny anybody. I'm all for capitalism and opportunity. I know you are, but things have to be balanced out, and the gap is just becoming wider. Yep. The rich are getting a lot richer. Hey, Taylor.
How are you?
Dr. Dan Taylor West.
Nice to meet you.
So, anyway, folks, hang in there. We're gonna chat here amongst ourselves, whatever. But we go live in about 15 or 20 minutes or so. But anyway, thank you all for being with us and joining us and supporting us.
The Ravens dressed down.
Hey, Diane.
Yeah,
I saw that Logan wore his. It's funny. I got him a Flacco jersey, and but
that's
right. So anyway, all right. And small business, all about small business. It's the small business is the backbone of our economy, and so we really need to support. Shop local when you can. Hey, Tony. Was a THB this morning, as you probably know, having breakfast down there in Canton. And Tony, it's interesting. You're feeding Baltimore's finest. The police department was in there in droves. So I have to tell you, I was sitting at THB having my breakfast, and like there were 10 cops in there or something like that. No kidding. And so, Tony, I felt really safe having, not that Canton's, you know, I mean, it's a great area, but this is Baltimore. And so the police were out in full force having their breakfast at THB this morning. There is a THB in Canton. There's 4 locations: Canton, Towson,
So they're closing off.
Charles Village, the great store in Charles Village. No. THB is one of our. THB is
Okay, I thought
Greetings and Readings is the
picture that,
bookstore.
You think they were closed after 49 years, which is
Yeah, that's Greetings and Readings is
Okay.
closing, and then Tuxedo Pharmacy in Roland Park after 82 years.
Oh, Lord.
82 years in business, and they're because they can't compete with the CVS's and the Walgreens, and they just can't. You know, the economics there, what they can, you know, how they can drive. It's like Walmart. How do you compete with that if it's just you and I? We're not going to get the discounts that those big box stores are going to get, and so that's what's going on. So, anyway, hey James, how are you?
That'd be a. I wonder what's gonna go there. 'Cause that's like.
I'm worried about that actually because that takes up a big. It's right in the middle there, right next to Eddie's, and then you've got the banks. What's going to go there really kind of concerns me. You know, I don't know if you've been at Roland Park, but it's a charming little area, and we've got our little routines. It's where I live, and so this is a pharmacy that's been part of that community for what did I just say 82 years. And that footprint, like who's going to fill that footprint? So,
Is it big enough for?
Beatrice, now you're in Sweden, I think, right? Can you give us folks? Let us know. I'd love to know where everybody is coming to us from. And I recall, Beatrice, you're coming to us from Sweden or Switzerland, but I think it's Sweden that you're coming to us from. So,
But it'd be nice if they put in like I don't know, like because I
I know
know.
just put another pharmacy there or something.
you know, but
Because it has to
the
serve-
neighborhood would really fight if it was like a CV. I mean, they don't want, So, and the little guys just really can't do it. So.
Pay for the large space.
Taylor, great book. I'm going to talk about Logan's going to read this. This story was really incredible. Really, really, really very sad. So, we're going to talk about lots of things, folks. Everybody's always asking me what I'm reading. I got about 20 books on my between my coffee table and my ottoman. There must be about 20 books there, and depending on my mood, is what I'll pick up. Hey, Bill, how are you? All right.
It'd be nice if they put. I don't know. I go down there a lot because I
Where?
go to school right next to it.
Oh yeah, Tuxedo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
I don't. I've actually never been into the pharmacy itself, but I'm down at Starbucks and Eddie's a lot.
You've never gone into the pharmacy?
No.
Yeah. I'll go in there, buy cards, and maybe, gum or candy or something like that. So, Sweden. Thank you. Sweden is just tuned in. Look at that, Dan. Sweden is tuned in.
I could see them putting like a restaurant in there though.
Let me turn this around. I want to show you Dr. Dan.
Hey, guys.
So wave to everybody. So Dr.
Looking
Dan.
forward to talking and sharing my wealth of information
See
to all
that?
of you.
We're going to be talking about goal setting with Dr. Dan. And there's Taylor. Taylor, give everybody a wave. And so you can. It's really cool for you to see the faces behind the voices. That's the problem with radio when everybody says you got a face for radio, right? What did one of my friends say? Which is very nice. You have one of my friends who's a local media person. You have a voice for radio and a face for television. That's the ultimate, isn't it? So, anyway, did we do any newsy kind of stuff? Did we? You didn't bring your laptop, or I don't know
No,
what
I
Elizabeth's
didn't.
bringing.
I can do some right now. Like we have time.
Do some basics for me. Just-
Baltimore.
Yeah, you just do some Baltimore, and we know the government's still shut down, right?
Yeah.
Think it's gonna last for a while?
I think it is. I think it is going to last for a while.
Probably.
Taylor, you need a pen?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Instead of having pressure from the public. I mean, I read something about the tax refunds, and if the IRS is like shut down, they cannot really process the tax
Yeah.
refund as quick as they're supposed to,
Yeah.
and that can create some issue.
Probably the biggest thing in Baltimore right now is the Ravens have a playoff game.
True. You got to talk about that, right?
Alright.
Hey, Rosa, how are you? Hey, what's everybody thinking about the Ravens this weekend? Can we beat the Chargers twice? Now, an advantage is they're coming here. We beat them in San Diego, which is difficult to do. I think, though, I saw a statistic that the Chargers are 7-0 on the road,
Yeah, they are.
right?
Well, they're 7-0 like out of LA. They lost to the LA Rams in LA,
Okay.
but they're 7-0 out of LA. So
Wow,
they're-
7-0. So, and
they're-
Phillip Rivers, come on. I mean, Phillip Rivers is a great quarterback. He is a great trash talking, and they talk about him, right? He's got like 8 kids or something like that. I think he's got a lot of kids.
Who does?
He's Phillip Rivers, who's the quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers. So anyway, folks, the topic tonight is goal setting. So give us a call here at the studio, 1-800-922-6680. If you've got something that you want Dr. Dan, we're going to talk about goal setting. You know, the importance of goal setting, maybe how you break these things down, maybe mental, you mental block, you're stuck somewhere, and then all of us can relate to these things. I always talk about all the who coaches the coaches. So we all go through these things, but we want to hear from you, successes that you've had, struggles that you've had around goal setting, and we'll have Dr. Dan give you all the information where you can reach him, because I want you to be a resource for our listeners.
That's what I'm here for.
And Dan's a new daddy.
Yes.
How old is what's your son's name?
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Yeah,
how old is Benjamin?
11, close to 12 weeks now.
12 weeks.
Yes.
I can remember I can remember counting the months and the weeks and all that kind of stuff. Of course, my youngest is now 16 and my oldest is 33.
He'll be like 3 months old.
Wow.
Yes.
And he's doing well?
And he's doing wonderful, just gorgeous.
He's adorable. I've seen him, yes.
He's taking over our lives.
Yes, well, Dan, better you than me.
Yes.
I'm like,
you
God, I love him, but I did it 6 times, man.
Oh, yeah.
I did it 6 times. Hey, Mark Sachs. Cindy, how are you? Yeah, no, I've done it.
My factory is closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always like to look at the Baltimore Business Journal, but they don't have much business information.
Yeah, no. So we've got the Ravens.
Of course.
We've got the government.
I guess. Trying to think what else is happening.
Amy, how are things down there in Florida? I will be down there in Florida next week. I don't like the cold. I'm not a cold weather guy. We're going to be with you in a little bit. I'm listening to Sean Hannity in my ear here talking about the government shutdown. Edwin Dean Wilkins is watching. Folks, let us know where you're from. It's, the market is expanding really here, and I don't know if you're following us. Dan, you can let your listeners know, and everybody follows you. They can download the app on their Android or their iPhone, WCBM 680 AM, or you could just go to www.wcbm.com, and because I know Taylor Paff talked about that, and they can listen to us, Taylor, live that way as well, right?
Did you hear about Catherine Pugh's Christmas tree?
No.
About the Baltimore. So they didn't have a Christmas tree, so they went into Druid Hill Park and they just chopped one down.
I had not heard that story, but it was like, ay.
Joel Fitzgerald was supposed to visit Baltimore.
Well, he can't because his son or something like that. Something is going on there. So look forward to hearing from everybody tonight. Remember the topic tonight, perfect topic as we go into 2019 is goal setting. So think about what worked and maybe what didn't work, Dan, for 2018.
Yes.
And now would be the time, and hopefully you put a little thought into this process before. Now we're January 4th. We're into the new year already, and so what worked and what didn't work. So anyway, the topic tonight is goal setting.
So this is the first show of 2019? I guess so.
This is the first show of 2019, Dan. Look at that, man.
And the funny thing, Bob, you were on my first TV show.
Was that really?
In DC, yeah.
Wow.
There, so it's kind of like very,
And we can talk about that. We'll get into,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about you, what
Yeah,
you're doing.
absolutely.
I've had the honor of being on your TV show, and so we want
thanks.
people to know, because I know you do a lot around relationships and dating.
That's correct.
And so really, whatever you want to talk. The good thing is sometimes, Taylor's been here. I've had as many as, what have we had, Taylor? We've had
A lot of people.
a lot. We've had like 10 people in this place.
You're kidding.
No. In this studio. And I've had they've had to bring in chairs, and I've had everybody on. So we've got 5 mics, and I've had 5 people going on at one time, and it rolls like, I mean, you'll see it. It really moves very, very fast. Hey, Warren Fisher.
Any wars in because it's like
It goes really, really fast. I mean, it's really kind of crazy. So it's good. My point is that it's just you and I here tonight because, and as I chat about things, I'll pull you in and I'll say, Dan, what are your thoughts on that? So, Dan, where are you originally from? Where were you born?
born in Morocco.
Born in Morocco.
Yeah.
And you've been here for how long?
I moved to Montreal right after, and then I moved to DC, to Texas for my master's degree, and then I moved to DC. So I've been in DC for 19 years.
So Morocco to Montreal to Texas to DC for 19 years.
Correct.
I've always wondered, what do people from Morocco think of Western Sahara?
I left when I was like 2 years old.
Oh, really?
So I was like so young, and Morocco really changed so much. And now when you go to the city,
Did you go back?
I mean, I never gone back, no. But my uncle went.
Okay.
And he said that it feels like you're in DC.
Really?
It's so commercialized, so like advanced
Wow.
now. Technology
Angelo,
and all.
thank you.
You don't even feel that you're like in any Arabic country. I don't. The big buildings. It's like just amazing.
Yeah.
Folks, we're going to be coming to you in about 4 minutes. Or you're heading your... Hey, Anita! I don't know where Elizabeth is. I think she was coming in.
Federal grand jury used by Special Counsel Robert Mueller is being extended after serving a standard 18-month term. The Chief Judge of the U.S. District Court in D.C. extended.
Folks, we're getting ready to come to you with Dr. Dan Amzalag, who's going to be talking about goal setting. Goal setting is the topic for our show. What a perfect time to do it. So, first show, 2019. So we're super excited about that.
Since I can't find much Baltimore news, I can look up some goal setting
You could do some stuff. Yeah. See, these
No one
guys
is
are...
too old to be able to put goals. It's good to start now because as you get older, they're harder to reach.
Good point.
Because I guess maybe we're too.
What I want to talk about too is what are the things that as people go into 2019 or 18 or 17 or whatever, the start of a new year, what are the most popular goals? I would think weight loss. I mean, right?
Weight loss is
Physical.
number
But
one.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, weight loss, absolutely. Then also mental.
Yeah.
Like, more, being more educated. Career goals.
You know where I want to go with you too is about the mental thing because
Yes.
Taylor knows that my hero is this Nebraska senator who wrote that book, Then Why We Hate Each Other, and he was actually on Colbert last night.
Oh, really?
Colbert did a terrible job interviewing him. Really, I would say that because he had his book, but then he never talked about it really.
Oh, wow.
He never talked about the guy's book, and he's brilliant. I mean, he's a PhD in American history. But one of the things that he says, and I love it, is that we're less connected than ever before.
Even though we are technically connected.
Yeah.
But because of that technical.
Well, and he said, we haven't really adapted fully to that. He thinks it's going to be a couple decades before we really embrace that whole thing. So Dan, when we're on, you're going to see. We're going to go on a little bit. You're going to see on air. We'll be on. So, are you hearing everything you've got?
Yes, I do hear you.
Michael's doing the news.
This is a good stat.
The
So
news you're
we're
listening to
here-
now is the guy that we were just talking to.
Oh, okay, but we're going to hear our voices
Yes.
now. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, and then Anita's there behind you, and she'll guide us through everything. You know what? I hope Taylor doesn't, if she pages me or whatever. I didn't think she was not going to be here. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I didn't think she was not going to be here. What I do is I go through. Hey, Pamela Summers Franklin. I go through. I always thank my sponsors. Always thank my sponsors. Here we go, Dan. We're getting ready. Where would we be without our sponsors? Hello, Pamela. Folks, do me a favor, go to the Bob Paff Show, the Facebook page, like the page, share the page. Encourage you to do that so we can get the word out there for everybody. Okay, folks, get ready. We're coming your way. Hey, that call-in number again is 410-922-6680. And if you're out of the area, Shane Simons, are you out there in California? 1-800-922-6680. Give us a call. We'd love to have you on. We're talking about goal setting. I thought it was supposed to rain earlier. We didn't get any rain. What, Taylor, was it raining when you came in?
No, it's supposed to rain
No,
tonight,
it
though.
was not raining.
Yeah.
Actually clear.
Thanks.
There's just some stats.
80% have no goals for anything. Don't have any goals. And that's a good point. The written versus... I'll go through these. It'll be a great feed-in for you.
Sorry?
Most popular New Year's resolutions, 71% diet, 65% exercise, 54%... We'll talk about these things. Here we go. All right. But they should be. Here we go. Hey folks, it's Bob Paff here, and Happy New Year to you. This is the first show. I got to get used to saying 2019. I slipped up a little bit ago. I was talking to our guest, Dr. Dan Omslag, and Dan, I messed up and I said 2018. We're in 2019,
Yes.
and welcome aboard. We're gonna talk about a lot of things, but I want you to say hello to our. Pull that microphone a little bit closer to you to make sure that folks are hearing you.
Much better now?
Much better. We're going to bring Dan on in just a little bit, but I wanted to let you know that he's here. I'm super excited to have him. I've done his talk show. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Dan's specialties. The focus of the show tonight, folks, is goal setting. It's goal setting. It's 2019. You came out of 2018. Think about your goals. Think about what worked, what didn't work. And you know what, Dan? Here's the cool thing. Every day starts anew. So if you messed up yesterday, guess what?
You could start all over again.
You can start all over again. And this is perfect. It's January the 4th. By the way, Tina Santiago down there in Florida, I love you. It's her birthday. I have to throw it out there to my ex-mother-in-law. Love her to death that it's her birthday. Talk about goal setting.
Birthday.
But Taylor just did some, let me share this with you, some interesting stuff. 83% of the folks out there, and folks, if this is you, wave to us, 83% have no goals. They don't have any goals at all, Dan. I mean,
So that's what they're doing to this show, right?
right? That's exactly. You're here. You found your home. 14% have goals in mind, but they don't write them down. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I'm guilty of that. I have to tell you, because we hear all this psychology around.
Accountability.
You got right accountability.
Yes.
You got to write it down, right? And a lot of people, and I want to talk to you. We'll get into that. We're going to dive into this stuff. Why people don't do those things. It looks like only 3% have them written down, and the most popular. And a lot of you out there, I wish I could see you, Reagan Miller Crawford. I wish I could see you guys smiling. The most popular New Year's resolutions, guess what number one is? 71% of you, it's diet. Diet. 65% are exercise. And I have to tell you, exercise, I was telling Dan earlier, I quit. I was going to Orange Theory and I quit today. I was trying to get, I revved it up. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about why people stop.
People quit, what they start.
Why people quit, yeah. 54% is to lose weight, 32% to spend less, 26% of you out there, you have a goal of learning something. That's a good segue because education, I love that, advancing yourself, doing something for you. Dan, I want to talk about putting yourself first, and I don't mean that in a narcissistic way, but basically, Dan, are we good for anybody else if we don't take care of ourselves?
Absolutely not. You have to be sane and healthy from within first.
Yeah.
And then you could actually express and allow to give yourself to others.
Yeah.
If you do not know how to master that, you're going to lose.
Yeah, and how can you help anybody else if you're not feeling? And part of that I've discovered at the age of 58 is really, what other people think of you is none of my business. It's none of my business what other people think of me. I can't control that. I can't. Barb Wells, Graham, you're out there, and I know, what other people think of us is really none of our business. Let that stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a healthy place. We've got to be in that healthy place if we're gonna help others. Some of you out there, you're life coaches, you're things, your advisors, your therapists, your counselors, whatever it is that you're doing. We're going to talk about all those things with Dr. Dan Amzalag, who is my guest here. Dan's with us for the whole hour. We're lucky to have you, my friend,
Honored and blessed.
for the whole hour because as Taylor and I were talking about, the studio gets really full. First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsors. When we started doing this, I went to Cipriano, I went to Maria, I went to Vaso, and I said, hey, I'm doing this project because I told you folks, I'm bringing this to you. I do not work for WCBM. I'm bringing this, Dan, to the listeners because we want to create, it's a variety show. We want to bring good content to people, and our sponsors support us. And so Cipriana, THB, Tony, love you guys, connected with you guys today. Thank you so much for continuing on with us. Fairway Mortgage Corp, Taylor Paff as well. So we would be nothing without our sponsor. And I know you get that too, Dan. Ann Brosco was just saying earlier, small business is the backbone of the economy.
Absolutely.
I'm a small business owner. I've been a small business owner for 30 some years. No one writes my paycheck at the end of the week. I haven't gotten a paycheck for, 30 years.
That makes two of us.
And and a lot of people can't handle that. That's a whole mindset as well. So anyway, all right, what am I reading? Dan and I talked about this, the unbanking of America. And folks, the banks are ripping us off.
Absolutely.
Fee income?
Fees, yeah.
Fees. That's what it's about. You know that. You're spending.
If it doesn't work for them, they bail out. And then
That's exactly right.
We cannot bail out.
We can't. We don't have any. So, why Americans are fleeing our broken banking system in growing numbers, and how alternatives are rushing into what banks once did. So we got to change the way that we do business. This book broke my heart. We've got What Made Maddie Run. For those of you who know me, you know that I do a lot of work around suicide prevention. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is my personal cause. And this young lady had it all. She was beautiful. She was 19 years old. She was a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, which is one of the 8 Ivy League schools, and she killed herself. And so I highly encourage you if you've got children. What's that?
Did she experience any mental illness?
I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. I just finished it a couple nights ago, and my son said he wanted to read it. He's going to be going to an Ivy League school next year. The pressure. Oh my God. And then Wallace Warfield Simpson. So for those of you who are Baltimore people, she was a native Baltimorean, and of course she married Edward VIII, who was at the time the King of England, and abdicated his throne for this woman. Fascinating book. I'm reading this too, and my theory on that whole thing is the guy didn't really want to be king. I would have played that a little bit differently. I don't know, Dan, if I could have given up my throne for a woman. I would have tried to have both. Yeah. I would have tried. Ladies, I'm sorry. You're out there. You're listening to us. But anyway, all right. So we're going to jump right into this. We've got probably less than a couple of minutes, and Anita's giving me the eye here. But we're going to jump. Dan, we got a minute, but I want to frame this. So what do you? Let's. What are some of the important topics that we can discuss as far as goal setting? I'm going to break this down. Okay. We're going to run out of time. We've only got about 45 seconds left, and then we'll come back. But we want to get your calls. We want to take callers. If you're struggling with goals or you've got some advice to give us and to share with our guests, call us at 410-922-6680 or 1-800-922-6680. We've got the whole hour with Dr. Dan. We're going to get into it. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to come back on the other side of the break, and we're going to dive right into why people set goals, why they fall, why they don't maintain the goals, what happens. And so, folks, you're listening to the Bob Paff Show on WCBM Talk Radio. Give us a call. Talk to our guest, Dr. Dan. The subject for this hour that you're here with us is goal setting for 2019. We'll be right back. All right, my friend.
That seems like a big time slot.
We'll be right back
discussing
about goal setting here in 2019.
I don't think so.
And I will be able to
give you
some output and some insight about how to write down your goals and make sure to stick with them. Sometimes a little bit difficult, sometimes they're a bit unrealistic, and you want to be able to avoid writing goals that you are incapable of accomplishing. So we will cover that with Mr. Paff, and we will cover other subjects. It's a pretty big pool to cover tonight, but we'll do our best to be able to cover everything that we need to be able to enlighten our listeners and provide them with what they need to be able to pursue their dreams and their
Folks,
goals
we're going to
for
come back.
2019.
We're going to jump
So,
right into
stay
this.
tuned,
Hey,
and,
Bill.
we should get back within
Here we
the
go.
next couple minutes.
I'm listening to music over here. Hey folks, Bob Paff here. I am honored to have Dr. Dan Amzalag in here with me. Dan comes to us by way of Morocco. I just learned all this about Dan. Morocco and then Montreal and then Texas. And you've been in the D.C. area. A lot of people refer to it as what, the DMV or something?
yeah.
The DMV for about 19 years. You are a new father,
Yes.
right? Benjamin is, what did you tell me, almost 12
Almost
weeks?
3 months, yes.
Almost 3 months old. I remember the days of counting that. But so we're lucky to have Dr. Dan with us. Dan, I want, so as we look at these goals, 83% of folks have no goals, 14% have goals in mind, but they're not written down. What do you want our listeners to know? I mean, we could talk about, I could say to you, why do people fail in setting their goals? But if I'm out there and I'm listening to you and I'm frustrated with my goal, what do you want people to know about goal setting? Do we break it down? Do we try to tackle too much, Dan? Why do people fail or don't do anything at all when it comes to goal setting?
I will tackle this question. First, I'd like to thank you for having me on the show, Bob. We have a
My
little
pleasure.
history with Bob. He was actually one of the first guest panelists on my TV show in 2016. Actually, yes.
Wow, it goes back that
June
far?
5th,
Oh my
2016.
God. I
remember
can't believe it's gonna be
when
3
we were in
years.
DC. And he was able to share his expertise in communication. So now I'm honored to be here as the first show in 2019.
First show in
What a coincidence.
2019. Yep.
So to go back to your question, a lot of people are just afraid to write down their goals.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
know
They have to be held
won't able to
accountable?
accomplish-
They
yes.
won't be able to accomplish those
They won't
goals.
be- and
That's a
maybe
great
something that's a
point.
bit too overwhelming for them. So they want to indirectly or subconsciously, they want to forget those goals because they're too afraid to accomplish them.
Because we're talking about accountability. So if I've written it down on this sheet of paper, Dan, and I'm going to stare at it on my refrigerator
Yes.
or on my
Sticky
bathroom
notes or
mirror,
whatever it is,
sticky
yes.
notes, whatever it is, then I'm sort of measuring my success by that. I'm reminded by it.
Correct.
But if I just sort of file it away in my head,
You know, you leave yourself
Interesting.
some leg room to be able to forget about
Yeah.
what you need to accomplish. So a lot of people are kind of like, they feel more at ease not knowing that their goal is looking at them in their eyes.
That's true. It's true. It's that accountability.
Yes.
Wow. So most people, it seems to me, I hate to put this out there to you folks, but most people really are unsuccessful. I mean, the majority of people really accomplishing, and then they abandon them. I
Yes.
guess, right? They start in like losing weight. Let's talk about losing weight and
yes.
exercise
This is
because
number
it's the
one,
time
right?
of the year, and gym memberships and treadmills are on sale. We've all seen the ads, and then by March, when then the weather gets warmer, and then we're not going to do this so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fitness trainer. I've been a fitness trainer since 1992. And so I've seen it all. And a lot of people are they say, okay, I'm going to lose 30 or 40 pounds.
Yeah.
All right, this is something unrealistic.
That's
Okay?
what I was going to say.
Yes.
Is that realistic?
Unreal. I mean, the healthy average is around 1 to 2 pounds a week.
A week.
Okay. Now, if they tell
Which
me then,
doesn't sound like a lot to people, and so therefore they're like, I'm not going to do it.
Yes.
So then they do nothing.
Yes, exactly. And let's face it. I mean, 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. So look at it this way:
Wow.
if you reduce 500 calories per day, you lose 1 pound a week, and that's not doing any exercise. So it's pretty easy to lose that 1 pound.
Because
You have
most
to
of it,
get
you bring up a good point. A lot of people think, and I've gained a lot of weight myself, and I think I know why. We can talk about the psychology behind a lot of these things, but and where was I going with this thought? For a lot, it's really about the diet, not the exercise, because you can exercise your ass off
Yes.
and consume too many calories more than you're burning. You're going to gain weight, aren't you, Dan?
Absolutely. It's what comes in and what goes out.
What comes in and what goes
Yes,
out.
exactly.
Okay. So as part of what you do, if I'm sitting down with you, because I know you do coaching, would you sit down with me and go over my diet, my meal
That's
plan?
the first thing I would do.
Okay.
Diet and meal plan. And then I will see exactly your frequency of gym attendance.
Okay.
If you only are a weekend warrior, you're not going to see any results. If you're going to the gym like 1 hour on Saturday,
Right.
forget about results. But if you are consistent, in which a lot of people are not,
Or not consistent.
I saw the gym when I went on January 2nd. The gym was packed.
Right, of course it is.
And the machine was whatever.
Everybody's
By
trying to work
March-
off everything from Thanksgiving.
By March, you're gonna start seeing like tumbleweed at the gym, like
Right.
in the desert, middle of the desert.
That's
So
so
that's the big problem. So you want to be.
Anita's laughing, too.
If you are consistent and you are going to focus on your goal, your immediate goal. then
But you know,
that's what it is.
but here's the thing too. We're going to run out of time on this one. Great topic tonight. Thank you so much for being here. You also have to be, so if you're my coach, you're my coach, we've got to be realistic. So if I'm the guy that comes to you and says, Dr. Dan, I hate the gym. And I got to tell you, Dan, I hate the gym.
Okay.
Don't we have to work around that?
We have to, yeah.
Because you
hate
can't,
the
if you're
gym,
trying to make me do something that I don't want to do, that I don't like to do, I'm probably not going to be successful at doing it, Dan. Isn't that fair?
as long as the goal is important to you, Bob.
I love that. Folks, you hear that?
Really, really
The
crucial.
goal's got to be important to
Or
you.
else it's not gonna.
You're not
stick.
going to do it.
No, not at all. So as long as it's important, then you'll be able to start seeing results. And for you, if you hate going to the gym, you could do exercise at home.
Folks, we got a break right here. We'll be right back with Dr. Dan. You're listening to the Bob Paff Show. Give us a call, and we're talking about goal setting. We'll be right back. Good stuff, Dan.
We'll be back after the break.
Good stuff. I love it. I love it.
Did you renew THB's thing? Their commercial thing?
Yeah.
So we have so much to cover, ladies and gentlemen. So let's hope that we'll have enough time to be able.
Hey,
to
Tammy,
cover all
thank you for
topics.
tuning in.
And so much to share, so much information.
Great topic. Perfect topic, this,
Yes.
for us to kick off.
2019, absolutely.
right?
So what was your show about?
Sorry,
What was your show about?
which my TV show?
Yes.
Oh, I talk about dating and relationship.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it still going?
Oh yeah, it's
really?
I have
Tammy,
it
if you
with,
guys are out of the
5
area, you can call in. You can
five,
call
shows
1-800-922-6680 or 410-922-6680. You can ask us a question. The question callers will light up on the board here. If you've got questions about goals or
What channel?
online all day.
What channel are you on?
successes, failures,
channel
whatever.
19 and 23 on Montgomery Channel.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could see it, and my show's already up and running. So I've been doing this for several years.
So 5 times a year? That seems awfully
It's
spread out.
it is spread out because just the time to
Michelle.
produce a show, it's a killer.
Yeah.
It's a killer because you have to
Love you guys. You and Alex. Happy New
Anything
Year.
takes the most time. So this covers and also bring the guest.
Coming right back. We're going to dive right back. I want to know what your goals are. What are your goals and
Volunteers.
what's going to
Can you imagine
change?
people doing the daily shows?
Sorry?
Can you imagine people doing
Oh, yeah, that's a killer. But they have a staff of like 200 people to be able to do it. So for them, more people you get, and less likely you'll be burdened by the editing part. You'll be burdened by so it depends. It depends. Like I said, the more people you have, better staff, more likely to be able to go and succeed.
Folks, we're coming back. We're going to dive right back into this. It's interesting, though, guys, on this list of things for goals, Dan, and maybe this is something, we can talk about, because you do a lot of work around relationships,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
And my goal to write more. But I think really, Dan, it seems to me, and I gotta do this myself. Folks, I put myself out there. You all know how transparent I am. I write things down. Every now and then I'll say, today's the day I'm going to do it. I'm going to write, that goal down. And I'll put it down, and I've got my journal, and then I kind of go away. So maybe we'll talk about, tell our listeners how to write them down. Like, so Ann Brosco's down there in Seabrook Island. She wants to write more. So she's a writer, and she wants to write more. So how do
I'm an
you,
author, so
I guess what you need to do is prioritize, Dan, because some of these goals can be overwhelming. Is it like, what we want to let our listeners know, is it realistic to have 3 goals over the course of the year, or is it okay to focus in on one? So when we come back,
Yes.
we'll talk about that kind of stuff,
Absolutely.
right? How many goals is realistic? So, Ann, you're down there and you want to write more, and it sounds like if you're focusing on that, what you need to do, Dan, is prioritize the goals,
Yes. Primary, secondary, and tertiary.
right?
Yeah. we should be back on.
Hey, Marie Gallagher.
Very, very
What's your
shortly.
goal for 2019?
We'll discuss a little bit further about what or how to reach your goal realistically.
Dan, let me give me your book. Let me see your book.
Yes.
Got it. Here we go. I'm going to go right to this.
Yeah.
Hey folks, it's Bob Paff here. We've got my guest, Dr. Dan Amzalag, is with us, and Dan is a coach. He's a life coach. He and I have done some work around relationships together. But here's his book, and I want you to get his book. It's 100 Days or Less to Reaching Your Ultimate Happiness: Secrets of the Universe Revealed. Because you do a lot of stuff around quantum physics. Can you explain the concept? It sounds so scientific, and I'm not a math science guy, Dan. Explain the concept around quantum physics to us, to our listeners.
Well, the thing is, it's all about understanding how the quantum principle happens in the universe. As we all know, 13.1 billion years ago, the Big Bang happened, and everything in the universe is controlled within your mind. Okay, it's a bit hard to understand. It's a bit hard to believe that how can we, so small, be able to control something so vast, so big, and so I believe that most of people, they feel that they don't give themselves enough value. So when you look at the principle of quantum physics and how to be able to reach happiness, everything starts with your thoughts, okay? And your thoughts is something really minute, infinitesimally small, just like the point of singularity that started the Big Bang and the universe in its own. So I always tell people that when you start with a thought, as long as the thought is healthy, productive, and that you could...
Realistic, productive, realistic?
Correct. I don't know, did you read the book of Rhonda Byrne, The Secret?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they said thought becomes things.
Right.
But they never really talk what is in between.
That's exactly right. It's just a lot of great stories about I thought this and so I got rich or whatever, right?
Nothing really...
Nothing substantive.
Exactly. And this is what I tell people. Between the thought and the things, you have to put belief, you have to put action, you have to put...
You need a plan.
Feeling, yes. And all this come together to be able to make your dreams come true.
All right, so let me ask you, it's kind of the nature versus nurture thing. Do you believe everything happens... how much control do you think we have over things? Does everything happen for a reason? Does everything happen for a reason in your mind?
You know what? Sometimes they say luck is involved when it comes to success.
Okay.
I do believe it does. But again, you control everything. You control what's coming inside of you.
So the luck, and some of us have better luck and more luck than others.
Yes.
Let's face it, folks. We all know people out there who are... I posted something earlier about people who are living on the mountain, never know what it's like if you're in the valley, kind of a thing. There are some people that really just, have a lot of luck, and not to say that they don't work hard, but luck. So luck is an element,
Luck is definitely
right?
An element, yes.
But going back to the thing that now, obviously, we can't be passive and sit back and say, well, what's going to be is going to be. We'll talk again. You need a goal, and you need to manage to that goal, and you need to have steps and a process to get to that goal, Dan. What's it realistic? Ann Brosco was saying that she wants to write more, and I asked Marie Gallagher what her goal is. How many goals is it realistic for somebody to have in the course of a year, Dan? You set yourself up for failure if you have too many?
If too many, yes. Just like this, as long as your goals are very clear.
Very clear.
I call it the DARIT principle. Okay, the DARIT principle.
Okay.
DARIT. Okay.
DARIT principle. I like that. DARIT. Okay.
And D stands for detailed. Okay. So your goal has to be very detailed, very specific. For example, I want to do 50 push-ups without vomiting.
Oh,
So
really?
you'll
That's
be very-
specific.
Yes, that's very especially.
50
if you talk
push-ups
about
without vomiting.
Yes. So
Wow.
some people, you'll be surprised they can only do one or two.
Right,
So
right.
That's very detailed.
Wow.
The second is the accomplishment.
Okay.
It's making sure that you could accomplish that goal. Now you have to make sure that I'll make it happen in 50 years from now. Now that doesn't work.
Right.
You have to say I want to do it within 3 months.
Okay.
So you want to make sure to focus on that.
Set the goal. What's the goal? Set a time for achieving that goal.
That's correct. Exactly. The third is R, which is realistic. As you were
Realistic.
mentioning.
Okay, yes.
The goal has to be realistic. So if you go back to the weight loss, you cannot lose 40 pounds in a week.
Right.
Okay, so dream on. And I had a lot of.
Unless you're on a fad diet and you're drinking like
Yeah,
grapefruit
if you
juice
drink
and you're
water
just
and
running to the
intermittent
bathroom all the
fasting,
time.
then you're good
Right?
to go. Then you have the I for important. What's important to you, as you were discussing.
I love
before.
that, and I want to spend more time on
Yes,
that.
that's,
Okay.
very, very crucial with importance. And then finally, time sensitive. The time. So you have to say, if you want to reach your goal, I want to do it by December 30th
Okay.
or 31st, 2019.
And so as far as the
then
time
you can do that.
thing,
Yeah.
it's your time. Let's be very clear on that, folks.
Yes.
Let's say there's a goal that you could do it in 6 months, but you want to do it in 9 because
Yes.
maybe other things are going on in your life, Dan.
Absolutely.
And so therefore 9 for you is realistic. That's okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Don't follow what others do.
And don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, don't beat yourself. Yeah, it's not because the diet worked for someone that it doesn't work for you, and they say, "Oh."
I
that's
tell you
it,
what,
let
I've
go.
tried Nutrisystem and it doesn't work for me.
Here you go. Everybody is different.
That pizza sucks, by the way. It does taste like cardboard. Some of the stuff's good. But I've tried it. It doesn't work for me.
But it could work for someone else.
Right.
And don't beat yourself down because it did for others. Like I do intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
It works beautifully.
I hear, I'm excited about that, and I want to talk to you more. Maybe you and I will do some
Yes.
stuff together we can report back to our
Absolutely.
listeners here. Folks, we're going to run out of time again. We're going to come back with Dr. Dan. Give us a call, 410-922-6680. I see you tuning in from all over the place. We've got folks from Sweden and California and Texas and Florida and all these different places. And share this message. We've got a man with a wealth of knowledge here. I've got Dr. Dan Amzalag here with us in the studio for the whole hour. So we're talking about goal planning for 2019. You're listening to the Bob Paff Show on WCBM. We'll be right back.
Coming back very shortly after the break, we're going to continue talking a little bit more about the goal settings and the toxic people in your life.
And Timmy, I don't know that happiness is a state of mind, and I'll tell you, because some things, the struggle's real, so I don't know that you can just say, oh, I'm going to get over this. But it's a good point. I get your point. We see it a lot of times that happiness is a state of mind, and maybe we'll talk about that. I see that. I don't necessarily agree that happiness is simply a state of mind, because if you're dealing with a lot of tragedy or struggles, those are real, and it's not just willing yourself out of that. But I get it. Hey, Tim.
Not being reached, so we push it for the next year. And but you have to really be focused. You have to be like detailed oriented and write everything down.
Folks, give us a call, 410-922-6680. Would love to hear about your goals, whether your goals are business goals, whether your goals are personal goals. Maybe you want to find love in 2019. Maybe you want to move on in 2000. Miss you too, Tim. Maybe you want to move on. Maybe you're in a toxic relationship, and 2019 is the year that you get out of that relationship. So be realistic. Write them down. We'll talk about sharing them and having other people help you become accountable. I want to talk to Dr. Dan and see what he says about that. But the word is accountability.
A lot of fun. And I wrote a lot of things down just to make sure that I do not forget what to cover, because there's so much to cover when it comes to setting goals, healthy goals, and realistic goals. So we'll get back very, very shortly.
There you go, folks.
And Bob is promoting my book, Ultimate Happiness, How to Reach Your Ultimate Happiness in 100 Days or Less.
So it looks like we've got a caller. All right. So one of the listeners just said that happiness is a state of mind. I don't agree with a lot of that, and I'll tell you why. I think the struggles are real.
Wonderful.
If you're dealing with homelessness, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with depression, chemical imbalances, it's not a matter of just saying, oh, I need to put on my big girl panties or put my boots on. Let's face it, some people are dealing with real world problems, not first world problems.
I agree.
Lee McGinnis and I talked about it. Somebody says, oh, these leaves in my pool, that's a first world problem. But there are a lot of people that are dealing with real problems, and the struggles, folks, are real. I just personally don't think you can say, get over it, suck it up.
No, snap out of it.
Right? Snap. I mean, that's Dan. That's what I mean. Most of the world's medicated anyway, and I'm not defending that. But a lot of problems that people have really are certifiable. These are real challenges that people are facing, and you can't just say that it's a state of mind. Shift the paradigm. because I've struggled with some real life things. I'm very transparent. When I talk to folks, some of the things I've gone through. I've been married, divorced twice. I've had business successes and business failures. A lot of the things that we deal with are real, and we struggle through those. So, let me see, folks. I'll be right back. I want to see. Let's hold the city accountable. We need a. Tim, you're right. I'm going to talk about that. Everybody knows the two things I say: every city needs to be safe and clean.
Yeah.
They know. See, I've fed everybody. Do we have a caller?
So we should get back very, very soon. We will cover other topics.
Let me know. And then we
Hello,
can go
Michal.
ahead.
Hello, everyone
We do
who's
have a
tuning
caller.
in. Hello, wife. She's tuning in with my son, who's watching the show right now. But he's crying. He's crying his lungs out. So it's very difficult for her to
Tim
listen.
Mitchell, I want to talk about that. Talk about goal setting. Hey, this is actually great too, Dan. Let's set some goals for Baltimore. I'd like to see a cleaner, safer Baltimore in 2019. How are we going to accomplish that? We can keep it realistic. Some of you saw my post earlier. I live in a pretty nice neighborhood, a very charming neighborhood, and I was walking, got out of my car and was headed into the store, and right outside of the Starbucks on Roland Avenue, I had to pick up some trash. There are a lot of school kids in that area that frequent some of the stores that are right there, and I've seen people just throw their trash. It's a lack of respect. And we send that message out there. If we're going to throw the trash that I don't care about this. I don't care about my space. I don't care about your space. I don't value anything. And to me, when you see that, because everybody knows, Tim Mitchell, what are the two things that I say? A city needs to be safe and clean. If I see that, Dan, I'm thinking in my mind, this is not a place that I'd want to visit. This is a place that maybe is not safe. When things are dirty, I mean, the psychological impact, what that does to the residents and the tourists and everybody around.
Yeah.
We've got Warren in Pikesville, who we're gonna take a call from Warren when we come back. So.
Absolutely.
But the word, folks, is, I don't know if you can see it, accountability. And Tim Mitchell, you said that, is, holding everybody, accountable. I'd love to wrap up the show with maybe you guys thinking of one goal that you, that you want to set for yourself. You and I will talk about that. I mean, one of my goals is actually is to, to get, and I think I know why I've picked up some of this weight. And we harbor things for lots of reasons, too. My goal is to be brave and to finally dive in, exit my safety zone, and take the steps. Hey, Jeannie, thank you. We're coming right back, folks. Here we go. I'm going to go right to this caller. We're going to go right to that caller, Anita. Dan, pull your mic in just a little bit. Hey, folks, you're back with Bob Paff and Dr. Dan Amzalag in the studio tonight. We're talking about goal setting for 2019. I'm getting a lot of great feedback from you folks. I really appreciate the Facebook Living, and I know Dan's Facebook Living. We've got Warren, Anita, we got Warren in Pikesville who has a question for us. Warren, you're on the air with Bob Paff and Dr. Dan. How can we help you? Thank you, Warren. I appreciate that. Wow. Have you been guilty of that, Warren? Yeah. 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 So you didn't believe it. You didn't believe that you had to write it down, basically, Warren. Is that right? Oh, so the process of writing it down.
Yes.
Dan, that's an interesting thought. Hey, Warren, thank you for the call. We gotta jump back. We got other people, but thank you for calling in. So, Dan, let's talk about that. The process of writing it down, as Warren said.
Yes.
Right? Go ahead, talk about that.
A very crucial point because, again, when you write it down in a sticky note, that's what I do, or that's what ideally what I suggest.
Yeah, tell us what you do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like in my computer, I have like 3 monitors that I put sticky notes to say, okay, I'm gonna think positive affirmation. This is what you
Okay.
have to do every single day, from the day that you wake up till the time that you sleep. Okay, and never ever allow toxicity coming to your brain. Of course, you have around 60,000 thoughts coming into your brain every single day.
60,000 thoughts, okay.
It's very hard to control them.
Right.
But as long as you only remember the one that are really positive in nature, then you're good to go. And I always encourage people to meditate. Meditate allows you to be able to bring in.
That's been a tricky one. I'd love to do that, but a lot of people.
Meditation is something that you have to be very consistent about,
Yeah.
or else it will not work. And you allow yourself, you have to listen to only positive affirmation going to your mind. And your subconscious mind is so powerful. And a lot of people don't get it. They don't understand.
We're
the-
programmed. Your brain is a computer, right? We're
Absolutely.
programmed. Or
Quantum computing. Again.
Dan, I talk about a rubber band. What happens when you stretch a rubber band and let it go? What happens? It goes right back to its original position.
Absolutely.
Isn't our mind? Aren't our thought patterns the same way?
Yes.
We go back to those same habits all the
Yes.
time, Dan.
Because it's easy, it's comforting.
It's easy and it's comforting.
Yes.
Hear that, folks? I know what I know, right?
Yes.
And so that I love the
Trying
expression.
something new, it's always scary.
Life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Yes, you have to.
Right?
Get it.
So you've
Absolutely.
got to get out of that comfort zone. And we talk about, and you and I have talked about this before. Sometimes I want to talk about accountability and our circle and our influence. I talk, for me, a chapter of my book is who's on your team. And maybe, Dan, some of the people that are on your team are the wrong people.
people, yeah.
Are the wrong people, right?
Absolutely. I always think that, our life, Bob, is like a room. Look at it this way. It's the center of gravity.
Okay.
The inner chakra. Okay? And if you leave the door open, the wrong people are going to go in. And if you do
Wow.
that, then the only person that is responsible for this is yourself. Stop pointing fingers at everyone else that your
Yeah.
life is not going the way you want.
Yeah.
You have to accept responsibility. So if you allow toxic people going to your life and expecting them to give you the advice that you're looking for, dream on. Because no one is going to want you to succeed. You have to remember that.
You touch on a great point. Sadly, I really believe, and I believe some people who are in our center of influence, they want you to be happy, but not too happy. They certainly don't want you to be happier than they are.
Nope.
They want you to be successful, but not too successful, and certainly
Not
not
too
more
successful.
successful as they are.
Exactly.
Right? Who does Dan think he is now? Dan's got the big fancy car. Dan must be doing well. Look at Dan. Kind of a thing. While you're struggling, that whole concept of misery loves company. There's a lot of truth to that.
Absolutely.
Right?
And people, they take it to the extreme, and what they want to do is just, they seek advice, unsolicited advice, and then they complain that the advice is not good enough.
It's
for
not
them.
good.
So it's like, come on, you have to really, decide what you need from people. And what I've noticed as well, Bob, and I think you would also agree,
Yeah.
is that a lot of people, they complain that Facebook is sharing their information to other companies,
Yeah.
etc. And they're violating the privacy. But then, come on, let's face it. People post what kind of toilet paper they use to wipe their butt with.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, where's your
Yeah.
privacy, for God's sake?
I don't think that privacy really exists anymore. Big Brother's all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So, I mean, for me, I'm kind of like, you know what? Practice what you preach. If you want your privacy, keep your life private.
Yeah.
And I say to everyone who's like an entrepreneur, if you want to see result in your life and success in your life, do it like the great white shark, where no one sees you coming.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay? Always keep your ideas for yourself.
Okay.
And people will hear from you when your idea will explode.
But don't you need one? But you still need one or two confidants, right?
Mentors.
Mentors.
These are
Mentors.
people that really
Hear that,
want-
folks? Okay.
They
They
want
want you to
well-being.
succeed.
They want you to succeed. But if you're seeking unsolicited advice on Facebook, is it a good idea? People will say no. It's
Everybody's got an opinion, right? It's exactly
And you
right.
don't want that. You don't
Right.
want to deal with those kind of people.
Right, right. Well, so many of these things, and this is great information, folks. So many of these things are subjective, Dan. We talked about it before. What works for, one man's cake is another man's candy. And so what works for one person doesn't work for the other. We talked about myself and I'm going to use the word failure, but I wasn't upset by it. The Nutrisystem thing didn't work for me. So whether it was physiological or whether it was mental or I cheated or whatever was going on, the dynamic of what was going on, it just didn't work for me. And that's okay, but I think, and let's talk about this.
Yes.
I think so much of what we do is spending needless time and energy worrying about what the hell other people think.
Yes. you care too much about what other people think, and this is the big problem. Not you in particular.
Yeah.
But overall, like people they want to be liked.
Right.
They want to
Right.
be
Well, that's what it
accepted.
comes down to.
Yes.
Liked, except this goes back to my senator from Nebraska who talks about. He was on Colbert last night. Everybody knows I've got a man crush on this freshman senator from Nebraska, but I think he's brilliant. And he talks about, Dan. We talked about this off the air. We are less connected as a society, as a people. The things that we used to do communally, we don't do anymore. You can sit in your fuzzy slippers and your pajamas and bring the world to you. Amazon, my God, owns Whole Foods now.
Yes.
You can get everything. It's so funny. You talk about toilet paper. You mentioned toilet paper. You can get your toilet paper on Amazon.
Absolutely.
You can get whatever you need, folks. And I hate
Never
to even
need to
be
leave your
plugging
home
them.
anymore.
You don't need to leave your home, Dan.
That's it, yeah.
And so we become fragmented and fractured and isolated and lonely. And I think, that attributes, I look at, reasons I've gained weight or I stop exercising or whatever. I try to apply these things to myself personally, but it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. Technologically, we're very connected, but at the same time, we're very distant.
Yeah.
That's what we call quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement. I
Yes.
love that. Well, I said, we're going to run out of time again, but I said it with the three geeks. I call them super geeks, Gates, Zuckerberg, and Jobs.
Yes.
Three guys who sat in their garage because they were antisocial. Now they're billionaires, and of course, one's dead. But what they did, a lot of good, but there's bad. Nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. What they've done, though, is we're disconnected, and it
Yes.
really bothers me. So listen, folks, you're listening to the Bob Paff Show on WCBM. We're here with our guest, Dr. Dan Umzalog. Give us a call. We'll be right back after this break.
So we're back on
Good
break,
stuff, man.
and we're going to talk. I think this is the last stretch before the end of the radio show. We will talk a little bit more about, if you're an entrepreneur, how to reach success. Remember that people that you allow into your life, they have to be the right people. Never just open your door and accept everyone, because this is when you're going to start regretting every single choice of your life. So just be careful who you allow into your circle or your center of gravity, so to speak, and then provide yourself with enough tools to be able to focus more into reaching your goals, and always have somewhat of an internal gatekeeper. And that
Folks,
will
we're
allow
coming back to you right
be
now.
able to,
Here we go.
to work towards reaching your goal and allow you
Unless
to
I
be
get
able
music
to
in
be
my
more
ear.
successful financially.
Here we go, Dan.
Mentally.
Hey, folks, you're back with the Bob Paff Show. Dr. Dan Umzalog and Brosco going to pick up on that, blocking out negative people in 2019. One of the things that I have really discovered, Dan, is, I'm in my 50s now, and I jokingly, all my female friends say that they've come to this way sooner than we did. I care less about what people think. Now, I think it's fair to say we want to be liked. Why wouldn't you want to be liked? You'd rather be liked than disliked. But there's a fine line there, and kind of going to Ann's comment is cutting those toxic people out of our lives. I really do believe that, again, I'll repeat it. People want us to be successful, but not too successful, not more successful than they are. I've got my theories behind that, but what do you think it is? Why is it, Dan, that people really can't truly be happy for us? What are your thoughts around that? What's going on in their minds, Dan?
Yes.
That's where I'm right?
Yes, that's actually a very good question. Just recently I saw something on Facebook where someone posted, "Hey, I just got a new job."
Okay.
And they got like 600 likes. But when someone said, "Hey, I just started my business," they had 5 likes.
Really?
Look
Oh.
at how people think.
Right.
They know, because look,
It's a great point.
Society is controlled by, we could use the metaphor of a tow truck and a car. 97% of the population is in the car. 3% of the population is in the tow truck.
Right.
They are the one pulling the people, the 97% of the population. They're the one who controls everything.
That's right.
So the people who are in the 97% or in the car, they don't want you to be in the tow truck.
Yeah.
They will do everything and anything, and that's why they encourage. If
Wow.
if I'm miserable in
Yeah.
my job,
Yeah.
I want you to be.
I want
miserable
you to
in
be
your job.
miserable
I
in
want
your
you
job.
To be happy or successful, whatever it is.
Yeah.
People think this way because they don't believe in abundance. Everyone can have a piece of the pie.
Yeah, so why can't it be a win-win? We talk about, communicating to win in life, love, and business. Why does my success have to come at your expense or your failure?
It's human nature.
Okay.
It is human. This is something that you could not work against. You have to work.
That's a
against.
great point. This stuff is here. It exists, Dan. Some
exists.
things we're not going to be able to, folks, you're not going to be able to fix it. You're not going to be able to correct it.
No way.
And, I mean, you can distance yourself from it. You can say,
yeah.
I'm not going to play in that sandbox.
Correct. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You can create your own sandbox. You could decide.
Create your own sandbox.
Yeah, create your own sandbox and only work with people, as we were talking before, mentors. They're the one who truly want your success.
Dan, how do you find them? I guess part of it, it's a rhetorical question to some extent. Depending on what your goals are, maybe you find people who are successful in doing what you'd like to do, right? If you look at other people and maybe you like, I don't know what it is, I don't want to say their lifestyle, but they seem to have themselves together. They're kind, and we're not kinder and gentler either. And so how do you identify, Dan, those people? And then how do you approach them? If you want somebody to mentor you, talk about that for our listeners.
Okay.
How do you find these people?
It's an interesting question. First, the mentors are the one who already succeeded. So there's nothing. That
So they've done it.
They've done it. There's nothing that
They're
you
not
can
threatened by
take
you.
away. No threats. That's the thing. And once you remove threat, you allow a pool of opportunities. And that's the best part, is that you want to make sure that the people that you are dealing with, so you could network. You could go to the SBDC, the Small Business Administration.
Yeah.
They have networking events where they have mentors or those who have already succeeded, who are already retired. They're there to be able to help people grow as well. These are
A lot of these, they're retired, like SCORE.
Yes.
I think about SCORE. These are retired
Exactly.
people who have
They're
made
retired,
it, who have
they've
done
made
it.
They have nothing to lose.
You're not a
They want
threat to
share.
them. They have
No.
nothing to lose,
Nothing
right?
at all. They've already done their life. They already succeeded.
Right.
You cannot take anything away from them. And this is why people are afraid to give too much information, because they're afraid that you're going to use this information
Against them.
to their advantage. Exactly.
Right. You know, one of the things, and then we're going to take a break and we're going to come back. Is there's a biblical phrase that says a prophet can't be a hero in his own town.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times you're perceived as that guy.
Yes.
So for me, I'm a father of 6 kids, and everybody knows my kids, and so I'm that guy.
Mm-hmm.
If you start doing something else and breaking out of that, people have a hard time accepting that, understanding it. Wanting you to be happy, seeing that change in that dynamic, because they, you know, one of the things I say, Dan, and we've got a break, I know, is we don't see things as they are. We see them as we are.
Correct.
Folks,
Yes.
listen to that. You're seeing things as you are. You're not necessarily seeing them as they are, the way they really are. You're seeing them through your filter. Folks, you're listening to the Bob Paff Show. We're going to be right back. We're going to wrap this up with Dr. Dan. Great conversation here. Give us a call if you've got time. 410-922-6680. You're with the Bob Paff Show.
We will be back very soon talking more. I think this is the last stretch
This is.
before the end of this amazing radio show with Bob Paff. So blessed to be here today and to be able to share my extensive knowledge in the field. And hopefully that everyone who watched the show benefited from what we had to share. Again, my name is Dr. Dan, and if you're looking for a coach, if you're looking
Taylor,
for a
any thoughts?
therapist, please give me a call, 301-325-1550. And also we have a TV show, an award-winning TV show called From Single to Mingle on the 32nd. And it won
Hey,
2
Carol.
in a row, the Monties. And so we talk about dating and relationship in the 21st century. So you could watch the show on channel 19 and 23 in Montgomery County.
Hey, Jeannie, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Loving this show. Thank you so much. Please share it. We'll be able to save the video and put it out there, which is why I Facebook Live it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Judy.
Expert in that field as well that I interview on a regular basis. So let's make 2019 a very successful year. And this is what we're here for. Bob is very knowledgeable in communication. And so you could always reach out to him and let him know your concern. Or if you're looking for
Maria,
a coach,
listen to that
I'm here
Cipriano
for you
commercial.
guys, and let me know how it can be of any help. That's my job.
Dan, what we'll do when we come back is how folks can get a hold of you, where they can find
Yes.
you. I'll put your book up again. Here's Dr. Dan's book, and then I want to leave our listeners with some concrete stuff, like just maybe they decide what's the one thing that you want to accomplish in 2019, and then kind of putting all the pieces together to get that.
Yes.
Like, who needs to be on your team to do that, or do you need stuff to do it? You know. One of the things I thought I'd like to do, I don't like to run, but I thought maybe just to,
Get a few friends
just
to run with you.
Right.
You know, like,
So
yeah.
we can talk about things, and so I'll give it back to you
Yes,
and just say, Dan,
absolutely.
what are some things I want people to leave this show? We're getting terrific feedback, by the way, but I want people to leave with some tangible things, you know, as they look to accomplish these goals in 2019. So good stuff.
There's been a lot more time in this show, I feel.
Because there's only one person.
Well, that's probably some of it, but I know what you're saying. It does seem like that, you know. Yeah.
Seems like you're having longer slots.
Goes fast, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah.
I mean, it really. I mean, it's good
That's,
in a way, but it.
there's so
And,
much more that we can share.
yeah.
It's quite-
Well, it's good that we've got, because I mean, I tell you, man, when it's like I've had like, you know, boom, 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 boom.
yeah, when you have 5 or 6 people in here that you could barely squeeze in one
And then
answer.
I've got, you know, so yeah. No, you just got to keep it. You got to keep it moving along.
Yeah, this is certainly a very. I mean, if you could send me the audio, because I would like to be able to.
What I can do is I get. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey folks, you're back with the Bob Paff Show. Give us a call if you got a chance. This is the last block here. We've got Dr. Dan. Well, I want to leave you. I was telling Dan, I want to leave our listeners, and we got our viewers on Facebook Live. I want to give them some practical advice. What I'd like you folks to do, like Ann did out there, talked about wanting to write more. Dan, how many goals realistically, folks, listen to this, how many goals is it realistic for somebody to have in the course of a year? We tend to measure things over the course of a year, New Year's Eve, New Year's starts, and like, what do I want to accomplish for 2019? Dan, how many is there a number that's too much? What's realistic for somebody in terms of goal
It
setting?
depends on each person.
Okay.
Someone can do 5 goals and
Really?
accomplish them.
It depends maybe the size of the goal.
The size of the goal, yeah. Something, again, we talked about being realistic. Also, others might say, you know what, I want to focus on 1 and do it well.
Okay.
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 Others, they might say, you know what, 3, it's a comfortable expectation when it comes to, okay, I'll put 3 goals. They're not going to be too difficult, not too easy, just enough for me to be able to keep busy and to achieve them. Again, if they're not achieved, there are no goals.
So it depends on the individual. I hear you saying that. The other thing maybe, and let's clarify this. Let's say everybody talks about a stretch goal. It's like a stretch school. Let's apply to a school that I'm pretty comfortable I'm going to get in here, but I'd like to get in there. But do some people set goals that I hate to say this, that they really have no intention of achieving, so I can scratch that one off, I didn't make that? I mean, probably people do that, but like, oh, that didn't really matter to me anyway.
Maybe.
Kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, subconsciously maybe, but then again, when you don't achieve a goal, you feel like a failure.
That's a good point too, so I think if you stack these goals up, Dan,
Yes.
and you're not achieving them, you run the risk. They could have an adverse effect on you.
Absolutely.
Not
Mentally,
right?
Emotionally.
And
as we discussed, once that's happened, it's an avalanche of bad luck coming after that. Because
you hear that,
didn't
folks?
do
It's
that.
very interesting. I didn't reach that goal. I didn't come. I'm a failure. I'm a
failure,
reject.
yeah.
I'm a whatever.
Failure do define you, but
Yeah.
at the same time, don't let it drain you.
Yeah. Let's talk about who. We've got 3 minutes left, folks. Let's talk about putting this all together. I think you need people on the team. We need accountability.
Yes.
And I guess it depends on the individual whether you share it with one person or 5 people.
That's correct.
Now, you talked about going on to Facebook, and I'd be careful going live with, hey, this is my goal, because you're going to get people who really don't want you to succeed.
No, absolutely not. And they'll do everything.
They'll sabotage you.
Yeah. Oh, they will sabotage. Yeah, mentally, and they'll say, "Oh no, this is not a good idea." And then after that, if you share your idea, then you give them ammunition, because then they're gonna say, "I told you so."
The old "I told you so." Why didn't you listen to me?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So like when it comes to reaching your weight goal, you want to be supportive, especially you with your wife. Like my wife wants to go through a transformation plan, and if she's gonna eat cardboard box food, I'll eat it with her.
Okay.
I'm gonna be supportive. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna show her that, okay, you know what? I'll do anything and everything in my power to be able to help you reach your goal.
So you raise a good point too. So you're in this together. Maybe you're in a relationship, and maybe your spouse or your significant other is doing some things that maybe you don't necessarily agree with. But you've got to be supportive. You've got to find another way around that. You can't say, honey, you shouldn't be eating that garbage.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make them feel bad.
Of course, definitely.
And they're doing that for a reason, Dan, aren't they? I mean, the reason, like, I talk about comfort food. I could sit here right now, man, and kill a whole pizza. I could sit here, Dan, and eat the whole macaroni and cheese. I love macaroni and cheese. And there's a reason we do those things. So I don't want you to make me feel bad about it, Dan, right? So you got to be very careful.
Yeah. Good choice of words.
Good choice of words. Hear that, folks?
Definitely be able to kind of like be supportive and let them understand what is the consequences of if they eat that mac and cheese.
And because we do things for a reason, there's a thought process behind the decision. People who smoke, whether it's a nervous habit, whether it's whatever, they don't want to gain weight. There's a reason behind, folks. There's a reason you're doing the things that you're doing. We're going to run out of time. I want to make sure that our listeners can get you. Can you tell them how do they find Dr. Dan?
Yeah, my name is Dr. Dan Emzalag, and you could contact me at 301-325-1550, and you could share with me any issues about your well-being, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. We can cover everything. You have to everything with your coach. It has to be transparency. Full disclosure, because more information I have, better it is for me to help you out. So call me anytime, 301-325-1550.
Folks, we're out of here. Once again, it's been a great show. Dr. Dan, thank you for so much. Always love having you. Yes. Always learn something. You're listening to the Bob Paff Show on WCBM. Have a great weekend, folks, and we'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for tuning in. It was a pleasure. Give me a call if you need anything.
Hey, folks, thank you guys all so much. Grateful for your support. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.